And welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of week 14, Ashes to Ashes. We're going to take the scene to Sirius. Sirius, you've got that letter in your hand. Describe the scene to me.
Okay, so I noticed this frame strangely up, and I take it apart and I read the letter, and for a moment I'm walking through the cargo hold. There's Grod kneeling at the hatch, ready to open it, and I'm back in that moment of when my rage was at its highest. And just as quickly as it comes, I channel that emotion. I rise from the seat, and I turn on my holo recorder, and I give a passionate eulogy to Cooper, and I record it, and I add it to a file. The file I was going to give to Kyle, I add it on there, and I also record a personal message to Mon Mothma, pledging my service to her as an agent against the First Order.
Excellent.
In place of Cooper, because I'm rallied at this point. Like we have to do this fight. Like that's how I feel in my heart. Like the Force has put me in this place where I have to join the fight for Cooper.
As you're remembering all of these events, you start to remember one memory in particular. And you were getting out of business school on Paradise. And you've got a swollen nose. And he requires anybody who does business with him to take the courses. So you are an adult, a young adult at this point. Probably when Sarah was an infant. And you're leaning against a wall and you've got a bloodied nose because some of the other punks that are in the business class felt very threatened by you. And their families have been in business on Paradise since the Clone Wars. And they realize that their familial connections aren't going to pass the class. Now they need to try. So they paid you a little visit. With Sirius being as buff as he is, would he have kicked their ass?
No, man, I wouldn't even have fought back because there'd be no competition. I was trained by people who were fighting a galactic war. Okay,
Right.
I can't fight just normal guys letting out their rage. I'm a trained killer, so I let them beat me down, and because especially back then the pain of scars of seeing the soldiers of the Galactic Republic slaughter my family is still pretty fresh. And the reason I think that this memory is coming back to me is because I'm starting to associate the people of Paradise as my family. Where Cooper was the father, I feel like I'm the father now because as his son, I have to look after his people, man. Our people, the people of Paradise who are suffering right now under the First Order, even though we didn't always get along.
And speaking of which, as you're standing there, one of the senators that runs Paradise, an elderly woman, very elegant and beautiful. She always has a straight posture. Her arms are always folded. She wears a beautiful, long, flowing navy blue dress. And she sees you in this small little alley at the school with your nose all busted up. Maybe you're reflecting, maybe you're meditating. I don't know. But she comes around the corner and she sees you. Oh my, Kier, what happened to you? And she walks forward to look at your face. Do you shy it away from her?
Well, I was probably weeping quietly to myself, just overcome by the loss of everything. And when she came up, I would quickly try to, compose myself because, you don't want to put on that public face. So I'm trying to hide the fact that I was just real. Not only did I get beat down, but I'm crying like a little bitch, and I'm like, no, I'm okay,
She smiles.
And you're that huge guy who's like broke down. Like that's it. you got it.
Cooper told me about the fight. Somebody reported it. I demanded that those boys get expelled, but Cooper feels that you wouldn't want that. So I came looking for you.
I smile through my tears and I say he knows me too well. They're just upset.
I understand.
They're not doing.
She kneels down. She says, sit. And she motions to the ground.
I'll sit back down.
And despite her professional demeanor and her beautiful, elegant, expensive gown, she sits down in front of you and wraps her legs together. And you realize she's a Zabrak. Like, she's got horns protruding from her hair. And her hair's shortcut, like badass business old lady. You know what I mean? She looks good for her age. And she grabs your hands and holds them almost in a prayer style and looks at the ground for a moment and then looks up and she says, I want you to know that your family and you are a big, big part of this station and everyone loves you. I think to an extent so do the people that attacked you. You know, you don't feel passion, anger, or hate unless you care about something. And I don't think they really care about passing this class. I think their jealousy is the fact that they care about you and they're watching you excel. You're going to be not one of them anymore. You're going to be seen as one of the elite in the class. I think that the way that they went after you with such passion isn't because they wanted to teach you a lesson for outdoing them. I think they're upset that you're going to be advancing into the higher echelon. Do you know what a madame is, Sirius?
A mother of women?
Yes. See, a long time ago in ancient times, women were not allowed to be Jedi. So, naturally, a convent was opened, and we train madames. We're not Jedi per se, but we are very intuitive. That's the reason why I started working for Cooper. He allows me to bring women here who need shelter from society. And that's why I'm free to come and go off the station as I wish. But there's some purity in you, Sirius, here, that I keep calling you Sirius, so we're going to retcon that. She's addressed you as here. I see something in you here, a purity. Don't ever lose that purity. And know that your connection with me will give you a safe house with any of the madames throughout the galaxy. And then she takes your hands and kisses the top of your knuckles and kind of like rubs it in like a grandmother would, and then stands up and just leaves. She doesn't say goodbye, she just dusts her dress off and leaves.
And I think what Sirius does is, his tears are smoothed at that point, and he goes back to meditating. And at the same time of finishing his work, Sirius begins to meditate briefly before he rejoins the crew.
And all of a sudden,
so the two
you get a message
sort of
in your
unite.
room as you're trying to meditate. That's the notification you have for Travis.
I'll activate it, reaching up over the desk.
Yeah, you activate it. No problem. The green light comes on. Ah, Sirius, I need to speak with you. I feel you should know that Lucius has invited Paris into the cockpit to prepare for the flight and to test all the systems and make sure they weren't damaged. They asked for privacy. It could be a lover's action. However, I know that your concern with anyone not authorized going through the systems should be brought to your attention. It seemed harmless, but I was asked to leave. I thought you should know.
Can you monitor all activity, electronic activity? I don't want to see or hear them. I want to know what is being done with computers. And can you route that to mechanics, please?
Absolutely. And in fact, I've already been researching it. So far, it seems like they're just analyzing the systems, but their work in the computers ended about 5 minutes ago.
And I look like, oh man, like I totally know what's going on. You know how you get that voyeur a little bit, and like I could totally just sit up there, just check and see. Also you gotta get a feel of it real quick. But I'm like, oh, I don't do it, and I say very well, route the information, and we will check it, and I'll call up Grod so I can tell him to meet me, but I don't do it until I'm done talking to Travis.
Excellent. So Travis terminates the communique, and before we go to Sirius and Grod's communications, let's go to Kier. Kier, what are you doing on the ship after the fight?
A couple of things. bef- following the whole scene where Paris had actually, she'd made that comment about how it was her decision and she'd cut Cooper loose and everything else. Kier would have found a moment where he would have pulled her aside and actually reprimanded her. This is, essentially, those are my actions. I don't need people sticking up for me. And I said, you're dangerously close to losing whatever ground you had with being on this ship. I don't know what you're here for, but you're dangerously close. I'm like, I will put you off myself.
And
don't interfere.
I think you knowing the Madame, she lowers her head and admits, I just was told by the Madame to ensure that your position in this crew is solidified, and I didn't want them to distrust you. She is also the one who asked me to be here on this ship. This is their first mission. She wants somebody in her house to report to her, not a mechanic's henchman. And then she would leave at that.
So the other thing would have been before the dinner and everything, Kier would have been the one that would have escorted the doctor back to the hospital and the labs and everything else.
Let's role play that, because he hasn't left. He's in the hangar right now waiting for the cargo to be loaded. He hasn't gone back to his labs. So if you want, we could start the scene in the cargo area with him.
Right. So Kier would have been coming off the ship as some of the cargo had been loaded on, and seeing the doctor again, he would have brought up the subject again. I'm like, look, Doc, I've mentioned this to you before, that you need to change the pattern of your security. In fact, we need to instill some different security. The fact that those, and he's people that didn't belong there managed to get you and take you out of the hospital is unacceptable.
Yes, I understand. I did go willingly.
I understand that. And you sent the message, but I think we could have avoided all that prior to it.
Understandable. I'll make sure that I review any security options with you. I'll give you all of my information, and you can analyze it and give me your best recommendations next time you're in port.
We can work with that. Kier looks at him and says, I have a couple of former medics that I know that could work as nurses for you.
Oh, I would love
when
that.
They're not on.
Yeah.
That they could when they're not on duty as serving as nurses and stuff, they could actually run the security detail by just being there to screen people.
I like that idea a lot. Listen, you guys seem to attract a lot of danger. Well, I know I had my fair share in bringing it to you. I'd like to give you this. And he hands you what looks like a scroll case. A metal scroll case. In case you absolutely need them.
Kier takes it and slips it into a pocket on the side of his armor.
Yes. All right, well, it was a nice conversation with you. As soon as I've counted all the crates, I'm going to be led back by Bengar Ryan back to the medical facility.
You can trust Bengar. He'll get you there without a problem.
No, that's what he said about you, but he decided that you're too busy.
Well, got a change in position here. Some things that need to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
He would actually hand him a comm transponder, something that's personal to his actual headset. I'm like, you run across any other problems, things you don't know what to do with as far as security, contact me, and I will get in touch with people I know here that could help you out. And
he nods and agrees. Oh, very smart. Yes, and adjusts his monocle.
And Kier heads back up the ramp to make sure that the shipments are being secured appropriately, anchored down, taken care of, and then he'll head back to the armory.
All right. Let's move the scene before we go to Sirius and Grod. Let's move it back to Slackersy. I want to know how much you would resist her passionately pressing you against a chair in the cockpit.
I think he'd play a little hard to get.
All right. I need you to roll a will versus 2 purple with 2 setback.
All right.
Any kind of willpower check. We're going to go to the rolling screen so we can see it.
So vigilance, right? Oh, wait. Any
Yes.
willpower, you said. Well, it doesn't matter. I think I suck in all of them. Yeah. We'll just go with... shit. Let's go with discipline.
All right, you succeed. I think the threat is... So, you guys have been making out, but I think the threat is that she is doing the pouty face and basically says, okay, I'll let you get back to work. And then she laughs.
I think at that point, he would realize he took it a little too far on the hard to get, but oh well. It's just kind of his personality, and he just go back to checking things out.
Yeah, I think at this point she leaves and goes to the quarters that were assigned to her. Sirius and Grod. Grod meets you, Sirius. Where does he meet you?
Outside of the lift.
Okay, so you
on
would
the
actually see
floor
Kier
where
walking
mechanic
back,
bay
right?
is.
Right. Oh, by the
So which floor?
Engineering. That is on deck 2.
Deck 2.
So
Yeah.
he's talking about where the hyperdrive and 1, 2, and 3 is located. I'll go ahead and show everyone in our audience where we're talking about. It's actually right over here.
Oh.
So yeah, Sirius and Grod are now up there. All right, Sirius, why don't you describe the scene? Grod, you describe your entry into the scene, and then go ahead and start. What does this engineering bay look like?
We have a bunch of crates. Not only the crates from the doctor, the stuff that we're delivering for him, some stuff we purchased. There's some other stuff that we purchased that is getting loaded up into the armory. It's kind of bustling. Well, it was bustling, I guess. So we still haven't swept up. You can see the trails of dust and stuff on the ground where everybody has tracked in all this gear. But yeah, everything is super opulent inside because it's brand new. Or,
Absolutely.
refurbished.
Yeah. So in front of you, I'm going to say that that's a console that monitors all of this thing right here in the middle is like a tall glass thing, like on Hoth. You know, those glass walls that the operators were marking. So this is a glass partition right here. And it shows you all of the systems and stuff, and you can mark it and write on it and circle it and add notes to it. And it goes up to the ceiling, so it's pretty tall. And the glow from that is blue. If there's something wrong, it'll be orange or red, and the engineering compartment will light up accordingly. This is a workbench down here in the south, and up here is a little terminal for you guys to actually do the electronic work. And of course, back here is the hyperdrive interface. You know for a fact from what Raul told you, in case the hyperdrive goes critical, you can close these blast doors to protect the inside from any radiation. So, Grod, why don't you describe your ascent to the top, and, like, as you're coming up the lift? Archie, you probably waited on the lift for him, right? Or did you come up first?
Waiting on the lift. That sounds great.
All right, so let's just start off
do
with you
that.
guys stepping on the lift, and we'll start the scene there.
So we're both stepping on the lift, or
Yeah, like he waited for you and then saw you coming in, and you guys step on the lift together. And we'll start as it's going up. It goes boom, and since everything's freshly lubed, it's a very smooth lift ride on the way up. And it's not incredibly long, but it takes, it's like an elevator going up 3 or 4 flights. So it moves a little slow, but a lot of stuff can go on it, like heavy parts. So it's not designed for speed. And it's also open-aired. It is a lift, which means that there's railing around it, and you can actually oversee the cargo hold from the top. So why don't you guys describe a scene as you're being lifted up?
well, you would notice. I mean, Grod would step on the lift and he would face forward. He'd stand right next to Sirius, but he'd have his head like down, and his brow would be furrowed, like he's mad about something.
Okay.
I'll sense it, and I'll say, what is it, Grod?
That Paris, she was quick to answer for me when you asked what happened to Cooper.
I noticed that as well.
She described it as an accident. It was no accident.
Excuse me? I turned to you full on, and I was a little bit too loud. I was speaking very quietly and privately until then.
And Grad will still just look forward, still, head like angled down, and I'll say, Kier, who's been in many battles, understood the situation better than I did. His action saved me, but he cut that tether to Cooper. I don't hold Kier at fault, because I would have gave my life and endangered the mission to try to save Cooper. He saved my life, but cutting Cooper go. But what bothers me is how Paris handled the situation when all was said and done.
Okay, so as you explain it, I turn back and I'm standing to you, and you see my big chest heaving as I'm just breathing, thinking about it, letting it sink in, and I say, very well. We're on our way to peak at her activities right now.
Activities.
Don't get any bright ideas.
Oh, no. Believe me, that's the last thing I want to do is watch her in any capacity.
Okay, so this is kind of weird. You might notice, like, Sirius is being not super heavy. But I'm going to turn to Grod, and I'm going to say, I know... Well, you know how close I was with Cooper. But... we're in charge now, you and I. We can't. And I'll stand up then straighter, and I'll say, excuse me, I can't show weakness like I did earlier.
And the lift comes to a stop at the top. And the gates open.
I'll say we're fortunate to have Kier, but we'll need to keep an eye on him as well as Paris.
I'll say, keep an eye on Kier. What do you mean?
Well, I recognize my own failing with the order to tether yourself to Cooper, if what you say is true, but it still seems rather insubordinate.
All of a sudden, Grod, it hits you like a ton of bricks why Paris took the blame.
I think he would say something to Sirius about that.
Yeah,
Say,
absolutely.
Do you think She is trying to protect Kier for some reason.
God damn you, Jarl, you bastard. Okay, so I'm gonna fucking literally open up my comm and I'm gonna say, Travis, can you please reroute those communications to the terminal here in not where
Yeah. So, yeah, you look over your shoulders. I think maybe you...
Kier's over in the armory. He's not in engineering.
Okay, good. Okay, well then never mind then. If I'm right here,
Yeah,
I won't.
Maybe you guys look across the gap and you see him going up the stairs and then going right in the armory.
And I'm like, oh, never mind. Belay that order. I don't like having distrust between our crewmen, but we must be careful.
Agreed. And how should we handle this Paris?
Oh, I have plans for her.
It seems she's been shut out. Lucius has allowed me to have access to the cockpit, and I reviewed the security footage. Apparently, she wanted to progress in... I don't know, it's not sexual activity, but from what I can gather, she insinuated making out.
Travis, this is not the type of information I wished for you to relay to me.
Excuse
I was
me,
specific.
sir, this is important. He shut her out.
So she cannot have access to the computer systems?
Exactly. She wanted... The chairs are where all of the access to the important systems are, and he shut her out and said he had a job to do. And, excuse me, you know I'm always listening, but I did hear you say distrust, and I think we have one point with Lucius, but at the same time it appears he has some control over Paris.
I'm
if you
very
get my
proud
meaning.
of the young man, yes.
But tactfully, you might be able to use that.
Indeed, that is the plan. Grod, and then I'll pull out the communications that we have, and I'll say, do you think that we should take this information to Kier and analyze it, or do you believe that that would be a risk to us as well? So you may be able to determine its location or its intended recipient.
I think it'd help us understand where we're at with Kier.
But we don't know the intended recipient. Huh, I guess we could hold back some information. Very well, good idea. Do you agree
All
that
right.
we should do this
Oh,
as a test?
yeah. What information are we going to hold back, though?
Okay. Fuck, he might actually already know this information. No, he doesn't know it. Well, no. Well, fuck. I'll need to look it over, and formulate a more sound plan. I don't have time to do it before the meeting. We need to discuss that. How do you wish to proceed with the hut?
I think the plan is to pay him if we got the credits and just be done with them.
I'll hand you an authorized credit sheet, and I'll say, who do you want to accompany you on the mission?
Probably everybody.
All right.
Good call.
Any other specifications that you wish in attire or armament for the crew?
It's going to be a conference room. Probably bigger than the one we got in the ship. Might be close quarters. I think we should let the Madame know we're coming, have the Valkyrie ready. But I think if we give them the money, it should go pretty uneventful.
All right. Anything else, my friend?
Nothing I can think of right now. I just feel a lot better having told you what really happened. Next time, I will not let others speak for me. I'll say something right then and there. That was my fault. For that, I'm ashamed. I hope you can forgive me.
Put my hand on your shoulder and I say, There is enough blame to go around, dear friend. Let us not burden ourselves with that which we must not carry. There are real tasks that we must accomplish. Let us worry ourselves with those.
Thank you.
So let's pan over to Slacker Z. Slacker Z, now you're done with your checks. The ship is fine. Took a little battery, but nothing. A few diagnostic repairs, maybe some updates, maybe even some system restores on the damaged components. But the ship is in fine condition.
All right. As he's basically now at this point just making sure everything's just kind of on a standby, warmed up, ready to go. Oh wait, no, we're
Yeah, you're leaving the ship.
Yeah, we're leaving the ship. So yeah, he'll put it on standby and ensure that all the security protocols are in check with Travis. So any unauthorized uses besides Sirius, Grod, or Lucius will be relayed back to Sirius and Lucius himself. And
Okay,
Grod.
excellent. All right. So he basically acknowledges and gives you a screen of everybody on the ship of who you want authorized, and you only select Sirius and Grod, right? I mean, yourself is already permitted.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah,
let
just
Kieran-
in the cockpit. Kieran, I would put as unless if it's maintenance, like if something in the system, he would just see that if it was anything outside of that, it would be an alert.
Okay. Perfect.
Paris, on the other hand, would be and anybody else would be blocked off.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So yeah, you're done, and you leave the bridge. The cockpit behind you is like psh, and shuts, and it's just about time to get ready. Did you want to head down to the cargo bay? That's where the warp is.
Yeah, he's pretty much ready to go.
Do you need anything from the armory? Or are you thinking a meeting with the Hutts is going to require a gun, or are you just going to kind of go easy like?
Oh, he's got his holdout blaster on him, but
okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, he's always got that on him, but otherwise, then no.
Kier, you're in the armory. What are you prepping?
Well, I'm curious. Kier would be curious. He knows that there's a meeting, but he's not exactly sure if he knows all the details on the meeting.
Oh, the
how much he's been let in on it. Yeah.
Right. I actually think that would have been very transparent. Like it's very clearly a meeting between Hutts and Grod, but not a whole lot of details. So that's kind of what's running through your head.
You probably know there's a payoff, but you don't know who's paying who or what anything about it. Just
right.
It's some kind of payoff.
And it has to be done before you guys leave for your missions, so
and
there
a
aren't
deadline,
any complications.
Yeah. And would he have known the location where the meeting was going down?
No, in fact, I would think that Sirius and Grod are about to approach the entire group about that and choose who they're taking with them.
Okay, because that would have, for Kier, that would have been like big issue for him.
You do know,
just
though,
a matter of
you know
security
this
and stuff.
area, right? But you also know this area very well, and I think it was well known that it was a local area, right? He was going to go back and meet with them. It's not like you guys have to fly to the other side of Coruscant. So I will say, Kier, that if you're allowed to find out where it is and just overlook the blueprints of the building, you can make any security checks you want and plans when you see it. Maybe you would advise taking bigger weapons, but that could be brought up to the group for sure. But maybe you're running scenarios through your head, and you're like, well, I could take that gun if it's this. That one would be nice if they need some reposition on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, Kier has one of those setups in the armory where there's like the standard weapons, and then he hits a panel, and the whole thing flips over, and there's his modded out weapon. It's like, so he's but anytime anybody else comes back in, he just flips it back up, and the regular weapons are all like hanging up there. So he be his thing is he's going over his head what he has this impression that he needs to talk to Madame about the reason why the Valkyrie's on the ship in the first place.
Right, like it's bothering you, like the Madame doesn't trust you.
Yeah, and I'm like
what the fuck?
it's like I've been down here just as long as anybody else has. I mean, I've never, you know, I mean,
Right.
I'm like I need somebody else to vouch for me to be on. I'm like, that doesn't sit right. There's something going on here, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out. And he's debating on whether to actually like address the other crew members and just, you know, let him know what's going on, or how best to handle it, because this is like, he's in the past, he's just used to being able to deal with it himself, and this is actually like, you know, somebody else dropping crap
Weird.
into his
And the
business
weird
here.
thing
It's like,
is what Paris told you makes sense. This once she kind of tells you it does make sense that the Madame would want to send a Valkyrie. It would make sense that she'd, of all people, choose Paris, but it doesn't make sense that a Valkyrie's coming in the first place. Like, why?
yeah, it's like,
Interesting.
I mean, and as if I'm not sufficient enough to, you know, keep people up to date or informed and stuff. I'm like, it just doesn't, you know, I'm like, it just doesn't sit right. And I'm like, this is not, you know, so we'll see how it plays out once we Grod and Sirius and
Yeah, actually,
Lucius
Sirius, how do you call the meeting? Do you send invites to like an email so that it's not broadcasted or spoken, or kind of like the
Just a
Star
little
Wars
flowery
equivalent of a
message
text
shows up.
message?
No, basically, I would call the ground crew to the desired location, and then I would give a private briefing to them, and then I would make a comm-wide call alerting everybody on the ship of the parameters for our leaving. You know,
Okay,
who's
so
in charge, what
you
know, and
contact
everything like
Brass,
that.
right? Is basically what you're doing. You're contacting them. So you're verbally contacting Kier and Lucius. You're not being secretive about it.
Nah.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say if it was secretive, it probably would have perked, especially your daughter's interest. Because the last time you did a secret meeting, your daughter was like,
I wasn't included.
You damn right.
"What? Dad,
Yeah, the
you're
best
a
place to hide
scrub."
is right out in the open. So
Right. Okay, so cool. We're actually going to go and take a break and be back for part 3 in a little bit. And when we do come back, we're going to pick up on that scene where you guys are going to meet. We'll say that do you want to do a speech to the general crew as a whole? Nah. Let's just skip that and say you did that, and now you guys are meeting. Where are you meeting?
we put Grick in charge with Paris having tactical authority if anything happens. But
Right.
everything has to go through Grick because he's ranking.
Oh, and you know what's funny is Grick is a neurotic motherfucker. He won't let shit slide. Like
No,
he
hell
is,
no.
He is to the
He'll knock
when
a
people
bitch out.
mess
He
with-
don't care.
Yeah, he don't care. He don't care. He tried to even stop Damn Jam from doing his
Yeah, he
act
knocked Jam
and
out
stood up
immediately.
to he stood up to Damn Jam right away and unfortunately got his
lightsaber.
ass whooped. But you know, he was like, "Oh, you bastard!" Like, absolutely, that actually makes perfect sense. So if anything happens while you're away on the ship, I want you to know that because you're putting Paris in tactical and because Grick is in charge, I'm gonna let you know ahead of time. Nothing will happen to the ship while you're gone. So as players, I don't want you to be worried about rushing this dinner because you're afraid that people are tinkering with the ship.
Cool.
Right. So let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, where are you guys meeting? In the conference room?
I thought we were meeting right outside the
Right
exit
outside.
ramp.
Okay. Excellent. All right. We'll be back for part 3 in a little bit. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. Bye-bye.